This is the Misdirected Mark Podcast, a podcast about gaming, game mastering, and entertaining you, our listeners. We are explicit, you have been warned, and I'd like to thank Mike Willard for letting us use his music on our show. Now let's pick up those mics and get on with this thing.
And welcome to the 38th episode of Misdirected Mark Plays. Tonight we will discuss red herrings in your tabletop role-playing games. But first, my name is Jerry.
My name is Phil.
Chris.
And I almost jumped Chris and said, I am Old Man Logan before he said Chris.
It was a misdirection.
Ba-dum-bum.
So where are we going tonight?
The dining room?
At first, we said we were going to go to the garage.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have to wing it in the workshop.
And then we had a discussion of taking it to the study.
But those were all fake leads.
Wah, wah.
Because tonight we're going to gather around the table in the dining room and hash our ideas about misdirection and red herrings in tabletop role-playing games.
All right, so time to ask our resident panda to tell us what the heck is a red herring.
Behold! You are in the presence of Definition Panda.
All right, so the red herring, something intended to distract attention from the real problem. So, no, I was going to make a joke about my childhood trauma, but skip it. Let's talk about it in terms. I've used a number of red herrings to get through to my adult years. Okay. But really, like what we're talking about here is a red herring, again, is a distraction. It's often used in mysteries and thrillers as kind of a lead that makes you think that the story or the person who did it or whatever is one thing, but actually turns out to be another. This, is a tool you can use in role-playing games. I'm going to preface this by I'm not a huge fan of this, so I'm going to tread lightly in this episode because I have a very mostly do it, but do it really carefully because you can fuck this up.
You can.
But why do they work in media better than they often work in role-playing games?
Sure, because in media, everything is scripted out, right? So you have total control in media when you put out a red herring and when you want to cash it in and have them reveal it. Also, you're writing the character so they don't go off and do 40 minutes of table planning on your red herring because you're in control of the character as you're writing it. But a role-playing table is spontaneous. And when you throw a piece of actionable information on the table, whether it's a distraction or not, players will do shit with it. And depending on your table, sometimes they will consume a lot of time obsessing over it.
It's also a thing because the GM controls what the player's point of view is in a lot of things. And when you use a red herring, if you use it incorrectly, you will lose the player's trust.
So, yeah. And I think we're going to cleave into this a little deeper, but if your red herring is because you have messed with the player's senses, that is one thing. If your red herring is just an actual object, like a matchbook or something on the ground that leads them in another direction, you have not messed with their senses.
Correct.
It's just a matchbook with a clue that isn't going to go anywhere. And I think there's a difference when we talk about that. There's a difference between those two types of red herrings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's even a difference between how the matchbook is presented and what its purpose is.
Correct.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah, we can get deeper into that.
All right. Before we move on to more, though, with red herrings, in a effort to misdirect things from the normal standard format show, what is another show on Misdirected Mark Productions, Bob?
We've got a little show called Thaco with Advantage, which I highly recommend. Ange and Jared do this show, and they love talking about RPGs and D&D.
They do.
Together, they share insights into the games they're running in the campaign journal, and then in the DM's workshop, they tackle a variety of topics that affect the game. They're going to talk anyway, so they might as well record it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I figure that's a good idea. Maybe if you listen to them, you'll even pick up an ancient D&D factoid about a previous edition of the game that you didn't know.
Even it might be from me here. You're a radio announcer guy. What the hell are you doing here, radio announcer guy? I just decided to stop in for a second. I'm leaving now. Bye-bye.
Is he off to go pick up a 5-cent paper?
Probably.
Yeah.
Time travels wherever he feels like going. They were talking about in their most recent episode campaigns that they were planning on running and how they think about that, which I'm actually kind of curious. I'm going to divert us for a hot second right here. Maybe this should be an off-the-cuff topic, but one answer. Do you have a plan? Do you ever plan on the next campaign that you're going to run while you're still running the current one?
Sometimes.
Okay. What about you? You don't run games. What about you?
All the time.
All the time. I do also, like, I always have an idea for a campaign in my head. All right, cool. We'll talk about that in off the cuff sometime. I think it'd be interesting. All right, let's move on with the show. So red herrings, I don't think they're necessarily a bad thing. I know me and Phil had it out for about a month about this. I mean, not really had it out, right? Like, there was a red herrings are stupid. I'm like, I think they can be used. And that's where all this whole episode comes from, that idea. I think Jerry also disagreed with me intensely about this too. Like, red herrings are dumb. I'm like, all right, like, you guys can think that.
We discussed it during one of the other advice columns, and that's why I started taking notes on what we were talking about.
Probably. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. And my more nuanced version of that is what I normally will say is, like, you can really fuck up this.
You
this
really can.
technique.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So first thing, why should you use them? I will throw a few things out there. One, layer of obfuscation. Like, I think that is a good reason to use a red herring, because sometimes you want people to think about things. Two, time sync is on there, but it's not really a time sync. It's that you get to make an actual choice and try to deduce a thing. And if you choose wrong, it takes time away from your timer.
Assuming there's a timer in the game.
Assuming there's a timer in the game,
Sure.
right? I think one of the best places to use a red herring is to allow for the adversary, if there's an adversary that is like working against the players in a mystery of some sort, to delay and show that the adversary is clever and how they are clever when trying to divert players from doing things.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty solid one. That is showing expertise or showing power kind of thing.
I agree. It's like, man, they planted this bomb, but like, it's not really the actual thing. Like, if I'm going to example for a second, like, oh, they planted a bomb, but they really just planted the bomb that's a red herring, which if you stop it, you save a bunch of people, but they really managed to pull off the thing they were trying to pull off anyway.
Die Hard 3. He plants a bomb in the school, and they're running all over the city looking for the bomb in the school. And when you finally get to the point where they're trying to disarm the bomb, it's not a bomb. The bomb is on the boat. Surprise.
I will also mention the great movie Heat.
Oh, yeah.
There's a moment where the police think that they've got the jump on the bad guys and they go out to the docks only to find out that the bad guys forced them out into the open so that they could see who their opposition was.
Get intel.
And when he realizes it, he's like, we are dealing with some real professionals here. Like, we just got outed by the bad guys.
Smart, right?
Yeah. And it does that thing that you just said, which it shows you in the movie, this crew is not amateurs. This crew is a really exceptional crew that they just got the jump on these robbery homicide guys.
Shows about the adversary.
Yep.
I think that is probably the best place to use a red herring.
Also, anywhere where I can make a Heat reference.
Sure.
Like, that's
well, why not?
fucking great movie.
Another, and my last point is, I think they can be used to explore the B story or future plots in the game, especially if there's no timer. I like that. Like, oh, here's a red herring, because it's a misdirection. It doesn't have anything to do with what's going on right now. But when it rears its head later, then it feels like it was less of a waste of a time. It was in that moment, but it wasn't later.
I mean, and I think that has to do with cashing in on, like, what happens when you pursue the red herring. We're going to talk about timing in a second, but the thing with all red herrings is you have to discover they're a red herring.
You do.
Right?
Yes.
So if you make the discovery pointless, it feels pointless. If you make the discovery have either an alternate meaning, something else happens, whatever, then in player mind, the red herring is like, well, that clue didn't pan out for the mystery, but like we made a cool contact, or we discovered a job that we can do later, ... whatever, or we got into a cool combat because, somebody came to kick our ass. Those things wind up being, as a player, less like, oh, the GM's just fucking with us, and more like, oh, well, we didn't do the main thing, but like we did a cool thing.
Yeah. I think the thing that you said that I think is important is it can't be pointless. To me, a time sync type situation with a timer is not pointless, because like you're like, shit, I just lost a resource, right? Like that increases tension.
Yep. 100%.
So there you go with that. Does anybody else have any other thoughts about why to use them before I move on to how to use them? All right, cool. Let's move on to how to use them. Let's talk about timing. I think timing the red herring is, if you want to get it right without screwing things up, it's very important. So I don't think you should ever take more than a scene or two to determine that you're dealing with a red herring. Like, if you have to follow a red herring for an entire session, you've done messed up.
Yes.
I will say that I think that's to be in scale with the timer that you're using.
Sure.
So if your timer is like months, years, or whatever, and your session leads you on a, mini quest that eventually turns out to be a red herring or whatever, I don't think it's terrible. If your timer is like, this shit's going to go off in like another session, and it takes you a half of this session to discover it, yeah, that's a problem.
If you spend more than one session on something, it turns out to be a red herring. As a player, I'm pissed. 100% right off the bat.
I'm fine with it as long as the story that was told surrounding the red herring was worthwhile and enjoyable.
Yes. Okay.
That's what I'm
I'll give you
saying,
that.
right? If it's again, we said red herrings can't be pointless,
Correct.
right? So if we just start with, if you make your red herring pointless, I don't care if you tell it to me in a scene. Again, pointless meaning time is not an essence and nothing meaningful comes out of the scene. If you tell it to me in a scene, I'm still kind of annoyed that like, well, what the fuck are we doing with it?
Pointless also needs a better definition.
No, I think pointless makes sense. Pointless means it doesn't do anything to further the game in any way, in any significant way.
Sure. And we can split that out to advances the main plot, creates a secondary plot, is an enjoyable scene, provides a resource, right? If it doesn't do any of those things, if you literally just go and are like, you track it down and it turns out that that guy's just a banker.
Yeah, like there's
like
no,
done.
There's zero resolution to it or anything like that.
Just nothing.
Yeah, that dick move.
I will say in a comparable way, right? There was once a Pathfinder adventure, and I will never not be angry about this adventure, where I think we spent 10 minutes trying to break down a door because we failed a bunch of strength checks, only to find out it was a stockroom with no fucking items that we could take. Why are we spending 10 minutes making checks on a locked door when there's literally nothing? Now, there's no timer to this adventure or anything. It is a completely pointless fucking encounter. Same thing is true with red herrings, right? It just pointless.
Okay. So, guys, I've been in a campaign where multiple times we chased down a lead, ended up in an encounter, only to find out that encounter was a red herring so the villain could pull off X. And this is that the villain is one step ahead of the player, showing after the first time it happened, the second time it happened, was that pointless or not? Because once again, it's showing how brilliant the villain is. But at that point, I'm just like,
I got questions before.
Yeah.
So like, this is a bad gamer story. I'm going to let Phil go first, but I have questions about the situation.
Yes.
I'm just going to say the simple fact that you said this is the first time it happened. Like, I think it's fine if you do that like once and you're like, oh, look, you've established that this guy is what's his face to Holmes.
A mastermind.
Yeah, he's Moriarty.
He's Moriarty to your Holmes, right? That's great. If you just keep doing it, right, that's bad writing.
So is that still pointless or not?
No, let me ask the question. Now I have to ask a question about this. Was there a chance for your group to realize that the second time was a red herring or not?
I have no idea.
So if you don't know, then you probably didn't have a chance to figure it out.
We knew that there was something else going on, but we were led to believe that this was the more important thing to do, and then found out that...
There you go. That's my point right there. Like, you were led to believe that it was more important.
Mm-hmm.
That means you didn't have a real chance to figure out that it was not a thing that you needed to deal with.
Yeah.
That right there is bad writing. Now, if you have a chance, like, bad guy shows that they're clever.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't figure out that bad guy is screwing you over again the second time based on the first time, then the game master has made a mistake.
And I'll tack onto it. If you asked the game master, hey, we got duped that last time, can we check to make sure this isn't? And the game master's like, no, it seems legit. Like, no roll, no check. That's bad game mastering on top of bad writing.
Yeah.
I think it was a comedy. I think it was really more bad writing, because at that time we were playing a pre-written adventure, and so there was definitely a way that the way the adventure was supposed to go. This is the Set Fire to the Louvre thing that I've talked about.
You were answering all of your own questions. You're like,
it's bad written.
You can't, like, this stuff has to be used in certain ways, and if you don't use them right, just like if I don't use my paragraph or my setups or my payoffs in right ways in any kind of story, it just comes off poorly.
So my question was, showing that the villain was once again a step ahead of us, was that pointless or not?
No, not at all, because as long as you had a chance.
Okay.
Because then you're like, and then the reward for that should be like, it'll be even harder to dupe you guys the next time.
Yeah. If you end up getting it 3-4 times.
Yeah, keep going.
You're like, that's like the same beat structure over and over again too. That's like, it's bad GMing.
Now think about, I'm going to say this thing and think about this as a player. If I'm game mastering that game and I have my mastermind, call him the mastermind, throw out the thing that's a red herring so we can pull off some other thing, and you fall for it the first time. Okay. I give you some sort of modifier or roll to figure out that as long as you ask the question, then you can suss it out. It happens to you again. I increase the modifier. We are now no longer living in pointless. We're homing in on the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is the right way to pull that off, I think. That is one of the right ways to pull that off, I
Sure.
think.
I would also say that multiple exposures not only makes it easier to understand, but you start to pick up his MO. So you actually can, if we were playing something like in Cortex, I might the second or third time around be like, you now have an asset.
Correct.
Like, you're on to their shit.
Yeah, whatever the mechanic is, right?
Yeah.
Like in Cortex, it's easy because it's just a trait that keeps getting bigger and bigger. In any other game, it's just a modifier that gets bigger, or like a track that is like, you will eventually track down the mastermind as long as you start understanding him. That's the Criminal Minds methodology, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The more that you understand the bad guy that you're chasing, the easier it is to eventually then catch them.
Yeah, you can't catch the bad guy in Criminal Minds till you understand the psychology of the bad guy.
So like the string of, they're kind of like red herrings, right? But they're still crimes that you were stopping, right? Like they're still bad things that you were stopping.
And they're not pointless because they're driving you closer to catching the mastermind.
Correct. So that is how you would set up a campaign that way, I think, and make it successful. I'd have to do it to see if it works right, but that is my theory.
Sure.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my question. I'm glad you guys answered that. That answered that question.
That's a fun question to just pop up. I'm glad that you asked the question. But that actually goes to how to use them. Like it narrows down the field, well, narrowing down the field, right?
So I want to establish two things as we go into this. There are two things we've kind of discussed right now. We've talked time to discover red herring and what happens when you discover it.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Because those two things are important, right? If you're doing red herrings without taking those two things into consideration, is where you're probably going to fail with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the second time it happened, we came out of it feeling like we made the wrong choice and didn't feel like we were any closer to. We knew what the villain was trying to do. Oh, the villain was trying to distract us so they could free this demon. Okay,
sure,
but it didn't feel like our choice was a good choice, and
you felt like your choice wasn't informed.
Wasn't informed. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't feel like the heroes
and
you
didn't
were.
accomplish anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of the things that we just described for that fixes all of the things that you were saying.
Yep. Yep. You need to accomplish something.
How to use them, narrowing down the field. Now, I throw this out there for things like parlor mysteries, but actually for the thing that we're talking about with the meta plot of the mastermind works for that too. If your red herring track downs narrow down the field of who could possibly be the culprit, I think that's a pretty good red herring. Now, I will tack on to that. I mean, I actually just saw, and this is a piece of media, but it works for any parlor mystery that you're thinking about too. A Death in Venice.
Oh yeah.
Or a Haunting in Venice.
Yep.
Sorry, A Haunting in Venice. He narrows down, it's an Agatha Christie styled story with Poirot. He narrows down the field by eliminating subjects based on the clues and the things about them. And each one of those people is essentially a red herring. Like, they're not the bad guy, but there is progress, right? It is eliminating a suspect so that we can get to another suspect.
Yeah.
And I think that is perfectly fine as like red herrings. To tack onto that to make them effective, make sure that those red herrings have interesting stories to go with them, so at least you're entertained while you're doing it.
Yep.
Yes, 100%.
I will also say that there's, as I'm expanding my thought on this, there's an interesting idea between character knowledge and player knowledge that a red herring for the character might not be terrible if it turns out to be interesting for the player. Sometimes we play our characters to make bad decisions and get into trouble.
Sure.
But if we're playing at a table and we're playing like a parlor mystery and it's a red herring and my character is no closer to the truth, but I as a player now know that Bob is the killer. And then later Bob's like, come take a walk with me. And I'm like, okay. Like,
yes.
Right? Like,
this is a horrible idea, but I'm going to do it.
Right. My character doesn't know because he didn't advance, but I, as the player, now know that I'm walking my character into danger / excitement. That may also work as a red herring. And I guess what I'm trying to say is the pointless part may not have to be only for the character.
Correct.
Could be for the player.
I agree.
I think at the end of the day, what we're talking about is there should be something fun about the red herring.
Or at
Yes.
the very least.
Now, don't say fun. Don't say
Fun is subjective.
Look, I'm with you. It should be fun for the individual.
Interesting or entertaining about that. Yeah.
All of those things are loaded words, man. Like, yes, you were saying the right thing. Fun, interesting, whatever that player enjoys.
Pay off.
It should pay off. Thank you.
If you come out of the red herring going, I fucking hate this game, that's a bad thing.
Or our characters are incompetent.
Yes.
If you're not playing a game where your characters are incompetent, like Paranoia, like if you come out of a scene and you're like, I feel like our characters are incompetent right now, like they can't seem to do anything. Yeah, that's probably not the desired effect that anyone wants at the table. And if it is, you're a jerk.
Yeah.
Off my soapbox, Chris, move us forward.
Another one is if the players deduce through mechanical means or non-mechanical means that there's a red herring early on, just let them know it's a red herring. Do not, like, once again, don't be married to your thing. Just, hey, man, they figured it out. Good for them. Just move it along.
Yep.
That should actually let them feel accomplished.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that one goes nowhere. What are you going to do next?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, where the players are like, no, don't fall for that again. That's got the mastermind's MO all over it.
Yeah.
Like, that's a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or, you do the cool thing where somebody runs off to do the distraction, but like, Batman runs off to secretly confront the, they're doing the thing. And then Batman's like, not everybody fell for your trick.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you call the other super team and be like, hey, go take care of this thing.
Right.
That's funny.
Whip some ass.
Sometimes a red herring is a red herring, but still manages to give insight to help the players determine where to find a different clue or another clue. I think that's also worth your time to consider and utilize.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need that red herring to get the clue, but it can help you find that next clue. I don't really have a good example for that, though.
You're going to find out the butler did it. And it turns out that you find evidence that the butler didn't do it. But in doing so, you also realize that not only isn't the butler not the one, but you might find a way to eliminate another suspect as well, and therefore narrows down your range.
That makes sense.
While following the butler didn't necessarily start you out in that direction.
Well, it couldn't have been the butler and it couldn't have been the maid because they were schnooking it up in the closet at that time.
Yes.
In a more modern police procedural kind of thing, your misdirection was some sort of explosive that you disarm while the bad guy did something else. But this explosive can only be purchased from, certain underworld figures, which now narrows down an arms dealer that probably knows who bought this.
Those are both excellent examples.
Yep.
Yeah.
Last one I have is it should always be about reliable information that is just misleading. So like red herring should never be misleading about the character census. We talked about this a little bit earlier. And the GM should never be screwing with the player's agency and observation. That is a way to lose your player's trust, unless, of course, they are compromised in-game by some sort of chemical or sensory thing.
Yeah, and by that point, they're probably aware of it, right? They've made a saving throw, a check, something like that. And then in which case, we're getting back to this player knowledge, character knowledge thing, where it's like, oh, I drank a thing and failed my check. I don't know exactly what's going on, but then it's like, oh, you see this thing. And, you're like, well, I got to follow it. I don't have a choice. Didn't that happen to you recently? You got cursed.
Yeah.
You wound up killing somebody.
I failed a check and drank the potion and became susceptible.
Avalon's a dark game, so like some amount of player agency can be revoked at times. And of course, ask your players. I think I asked Bob if it was okay.
We were on board with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, illusions and things like that, like there are things, again, this goes to player versus character knowledge, right? So if there's an illusion that's creating the red herring and you're like, okay, make a saving throw. And the person's like, nope, totally tank that. And you're like, cool, you see this thing, like you see a figure run off down the path or whatever.
I chase it.
Yeah, I chase it. Well, the player's like, okay, well, I know this is a red herring. Like, I know it's a red herring and it's going to be pointless, probably. It doesn't have to be pointless, but it might not go anywhere. But my character doesn't, and I failed to check, and that's why. Because if I had passed the check, you'd have been like, oh, you see something move past, but there's something suspicious about it. And you're like, oh, it's an illusion, right? And you might still chase it to see where it leads, but it's different. And I think, again, at the player level, it might just be okay that happened, especially if those kinds of things are normal in your game.
There's a thing about saving throws or checks or anything where something can affect you and about how to play that out after the fact. That is probably a different kind of subject that we could talk about at some point in time.
Yeah.
That's a ding.
I commend players who fail a roll and lean right into the bad decision, because to me, I think that's like really good. Like, oh, my character doesn't know, I'm just going to do this bad thing.
There's also the idea of like, who gets to narrate that, right?
Yeah.
Like depending on the game that you're playing and the table culture that you have, like who gets to decide what's messed up about this, or if you're playing certain games that allow other people to offer failure states or devil's bargains and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, those all dance around agency but yeah, I think the point that we're trying to make here is if you start to believe that the GM is not a reliable narrator of your character's senses, you will trust nothing ever again.
It's true.
Yes.
While it will seem like it is a cool thing to do in the moment, and if you do, it's not, but the chaos it will create in your game afterwards when players are like touching every object to make sure it's real. They're taking extra turns to look at everything because they feel like they can't trust their own senses. Ugh.
This just goes down to like that foundational concept about games. It's like, why are you playing the game? What is your purpose in playing the game? What are you trying to get out of playing the game, both as a game master and a player? If you're not going to buy into the concept of what's going on and the concept that's been described as like, yeah, there will be some illusions and red herrings and things like that here, and you're going to fight back at that every moment it happens and not play into it as a player, and you're going to obfuscate that stuff as a game master, then maybe you shouldn't be playing that game because you're not buying into the actual idea of what's going on.
Sure. And if you're running it poorly, right? So if you're running it, like if you're running it with checks and you're just like, that's fine. And if you're getting paranoid about it, part of that would be true, right? If you failed a bunch of checks and you're falling for a lot of illusions, you'll get paranoid. What I think I'm specifically saying is that, like, say there's a game that there's no mind control, magic, illusion, or anything else. Yeah. And I purposely tell you that your character saw something that wasn't true.
Well, that's what I mean. Like when I come down to that foundational thing, it's like, why are we doing this then?
Yeah,
As a game master, like, why don't you just tell them, like, look, you know that you didn't see this. Like, you know as a player that your character didn't see this, but your character saw it.
Yes.
So you have to decide what you want to do about that.
Yeah.
And hopefully there's some sort of mechanical impetus into the game that allows you to make that choice.
Yeah, I will never hesitate to do that to a character if there's a check involved. Right? Like if I'm like, oh, make this check. Oh, no, sorry, Jerry. What you think you see is this. Right? And you're like, well, I failed to check and I think I see this. Okay, I get what's going on here. Now I will play accordingly.
I think a lot of this also goes way, way back to the origins of the hobby, back when you had things like mimics and gold bugs and throat leeches, which were things that were deliberately put into the game by the creators of the original, of the oldest RPG. But for those who don't remember, mimics, of course, we all know about the big GM screw everybody over item, which are usable once. Okay. Gold bugs were items that looked exactly like gold, but if you touch them, save or die. Throat leeches were...
asshole monster. Fucking made that.
Guess.
Gygax, of course.
And then throat leeches were a similar thing that were in liquids. You couldn't see them, and if you drank them, it was save or die.
Come on.
And so it was basically... It created paranoia.
You know what? Go ahead.
And it encouraged GMs to do this, which is part of what led to the idea with a lot of GMs that red herrings and misdirection were okay.
Build my effigy right now and burn it. Maybe Gygax wasn't always the best GM.
Hold on. I need to know, where did these monsters show up the first times? Like what adventures and things like that?
Fiend Folio, that kind of stuff. They were all like in Dragon Magazine and stuff like that.
I mean, he might not have written them then?
All right, whoever wrote those, like, let me just say this, right?
Those people,
whoever wrote those are asshole monsters.
They are.
First of all, it looks like this, you can't detect it, and save versus die. I don't know, like why don't you just fucking drop a rock on somebody?
Exactly. And and those are examples of bad misdirection.
We are talking about, this is tricky, right? For me, because we are talking about old school playing right now.
Yeah.
Now, old school playing, like I take my 10-foot pole out and poke the chest. It might be a mimic then. If it's a mimic, it probably reacts.
Sure.
If I'm actually game mastering the way that I should be. The gold thing, like, do I throw some stuff into this pile of gold that is sitting here? Is there any like context clues for it too? Like, I don't want to just sit here and bash on the old school folks for no reason.
I'm not bashing on old school folks. There are plenty of old school people who run fucking fine games.
Yeah.
That's just an asshole monster.
I'm not,
it is an asshole monster.
I don't even want to like bash on the monsters because the play style of those games assumes that you're not going to just need to make a check to find these things, that you're going to do something to interact with the environment.
Sure.
So like that is a different play style from what we're talking about. And I don't think we sometimes give that enough credit.
I think
as somebody who played that play style, that is not how most of the groups we played with.
I can't help if they don't play the game right.
You weren't expected to like distrust every potion you picked up. And if you poked a pile of coins, it didn't react unless you touched it with bare flesh.
So let me say this.
I mean, your game master will influence your play experience.
So let me say this, right? In the 80s, there was not an old school play style.
Sure, there was a play style.
There was just you played the fucking game however you thought it was played.
Yeah, come on, there's like a billion play styles.
Correct. Yes. And there were plenty of just bad GMs in those days who would take a item like that and fuck you over. By the way, as reference of that, Bob, the teleporting frame.
Greater door of teleportation. You walk through your body, your flesh, you go this way and end up over there. All your gear, clothing, and everything else goes into a different place.
Yeah, man, that's from the Tomb of Horrors, man.
And then he hit it with us again later.
Sure.
Can you detect it?
No.
Can you save
the door
against
doesn't
it?
even detect as magical?
Anyway, are we gonna detect magic on every
Let's
doorway?
not diverge too far.
I'm not trying to diverge.
I'm not throwing shade on the old school. I have a particular dislike for if you tell me that the gold bug or whatever, there's something else that you can do to determine. My problem with it is gold pieces are fucking ubiquitous. Does the gold bug show up at the pub? Does the gold bug show up the next town I go over to? Because guess what? For now on, when we play the game, I'm going to ask you 20 questions about every piece of gold we find. If you want that to happen in your game, put that fucking creature out in front of me.
Look, I'm just throwing out there that there are you have to set things up and then pay them off in the right way. Otherwise, it's a dick move.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That goes with pretty much anything.
Yes.
Like if I drop you in the middle of an ambush that you had no chance to get out of,
correct,
with like 30 people around you with bows and arrows and guns and whatnot.
Yes,
still a dick move.
Still a dick move.
It doesn't matter. That's my point about this stuff.
I don't understand what the positive payoff is of something like a gold bug or a throat leech. I don't see the positive payoff.
What's the positive payoff of being ambushed by 30 people?
Also, not
there
true.
isn't. That's what I'm saying.
That's
I can't think of any design where where that is fun for the players.
I mean, if there is a throat leech in a vial of liquid in an alchemist's lab that's in a tomb somewhere, I could buy that. Like if you can, and if you like drop some drops, like if you start checking these potions out and then there's some way to determine, and there should be some way to determine that there's something in there, then it's just like a trap within these potions that you can pick up.
I'm okay with that.
Yes.
But if you're just like, it's undetectable, and if you take a few drops out, you still can't detect it. The only thing you can do is drink it, and hey, one in every so many of these potions is just probably going to kill you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's a problem. Anyway, my point is, this is
such an aside.
First, I was being hyperbolic.
Sure.
So let me just say that.
Yeah.
Second of all, I have no beef with the old school, like the OSR. It's perfectly fine. I have a particular dislike for that kind of creature. I also don't like the rust monster. So if you're mad about me for that,
the rust monster is awful.
I think the rust monster. I will never there are many creatures. I will hit you with a mimic. Will never hit you with a rust monster. I just hate that creature.
It's so mean.
Yes. It's just, that magical sword you loved, fucking gone.
It's the same as every other thing, though. It's like if you don't set it up properly, then nobody had a choice.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
And that's really where I'm at here.
I mean, if you get into, like, if you first walk in the cave and like scrawled on the wall is like, beware of the gold.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and I guess,
it's set up for payoff, right?
Yes.
Soft move, hard move.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like if you just make the hard move,
set up for payoff is soft move, hard move.
Yes. Like if you just make the hard move blindly without a soft move,
and this is a fascinating discussion.
I'm a little annoyed. But if you warn me, right? If you soft move it, then it was on me.
Yeah, and that's okay.
And again, there are people out there that will enjoy that style of play where it's like, fine. Surprise, there was a thing in my potion. Fuck.
And you did. Go roll up your, roll your henchman up, which is fine. That's a valid way.
Rock on.
Remember when you lost your eyes in that DCC adventure?
Yes.
We all knew it was going to be bad. You failed to save. There were warning signs and shit like that. And then you were like, I'm going to go grab that stone. And it was like, here we go.
And it was fun as hell.
Fun as hell, right?
And there was what Chris talked about earlier, which was that there was a way to have a check or some knowledge beforehand that the thing that was coming up was coming up. It wasn't just sprung on you out of the blue.
Also, there was a payoff because there were things that you could do when you were the eyes, the disassociated eyes.
Plus, Percy wasn't the brightest bulb in the...
Correct. There was no hope for that guy anyway.
My point is in lieu of a check, there needs to be information.
Yes. Soft move, hard move.
Okay. Anywho,
that was a little... Sorry.
Why are we sorry?
I don't know.
I just like when I have to be like, I have to be like sort of the voice of possible reason here.
Phil's climbing on his soapbox.
And Jerry's right there behind him.
I fucking hate mimics.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I'm not a notebox person either, so it's fine.
Mimic to me is the least offensive one.
Although I still think the idea of the mimic in the city that pretends to be like door frames and window frames and stuff to like hunt to eat and just murder, like serial killer murders people, is a fascinating idea.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. And I'll be honest, a mimic in a campaign, not a problem. The toilet mimic, actually, I'll even do that. There's the one adventure, I think, where like the house and everything in it are mimics. That's fine. It's one adventure. It's the mimic adventure. But when they start popping up over and over again in games, that's where I'm like, I'm done with mimics.
That monster falls into a category where it's like, it's fun when you do it like once, and then you got to like cool off and like not do it again
This
for a while.
city is a mimic civilization.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
It's not.
Why are we here?
I don't even understand the ecology of mimics. I think they're just like a magic.
Oh, there's a D&D. There's a D&D article on that. Or a dungeon. There's
we should
Dragon
probably
magazine.
route this back into the main topic.
Back to mysteries real quick. This idea. So average play groups are terrible at mysteries. They just don't. They're not very good at it.
No.
So red herrings may not even be necessary because players will just create their own static. They'll just fuck this stuff up themselves.
I think that's the danger part, right? Is if you have a group that's not good with mysteries and you pepper the field with red herrings, expect them to like spend all the same effort as it takes them to advance the plot as it will to advance the red herring.
Yes.
Players will grab onto the least expected thing and run with it. Like NPCs. You thought this NPC was a 5-second throwaway. You didn't even give them a name. And then they latch onto it and it becomes their favorite person
They
ever.
adopt them and
they
bring them
will
on the
jump
ship.
on anything.
As a game master, it is your job to then dissuade them of that idea. Be like, look, man, that's probably not the right thing. Or if they follow it for C and then like, oh, look, it's not the right thing. Go back.
Yeah.
You come up with a table nomenclature like, this is just SG, some guy.
Jesus.
You very quickly realize there's nothing relevant here. Move on.
All right, let's move to
Much
our
like the end of this episode.
Yeah, let's move to our round dining room table. I don't actually own a round dining room
Or
table.
square.
That's a rectangle. One of those shapes.
Parallel.
I get what you're doing there though, Jerry. Good job.
Thank you.
Trapezoid.
So what are some games that do a great job with red herrings? So, I mean, I could talk about Brindlewood Bay, but in the Brindlewood system stuff, there's not really red herrings there. The red herrings are the clues that you don't use to solve the mystery.
Yeah, it's fair.
So, like,
Which I think is actually a great way to use it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty solid thought about the red herring. Like, oh, those clues didn't matter because they were just red herrings.
There are no bad clues, but some clues go nowhere.
Yeah, there are no bad clues.
There are
but
no
some
bad clues, but some clues go nowhere.
In Carve from Brindlewood games, there are no bad clues, but some clues go nowhere.
Yeah, there are times where you finish out a mystery and there's like 5 or 6 clues and you're like, yeah, we didn't need these.
Yeah, yeah. So Gumshoe, let's talk about Gumshoe for a second. I think when it comes to the trail of clues, red herrings are just dumb. Like, just don't use them.
Yeah, you don't need them.
But when it comes to the ocean of clues, I believe Ken Hite coined that term potentially.
Yep.
You can have red herrings. It's fine because if that does dead ends, you just go back and then go down a different path because you have an ocean of these clues to pick from. No harm done. Just follow all the rules that we talked about earlier. Yep. Those are the 2 games that I can think of. Anybody else have any other games?
I don't know. I mean, you can use them in other games, but I mean, Brindlewood and Gumshoe are mystery games.
Well, concept of ocean of clues can be used anywhere.
Yeah,
sure, absolutely.
Parlor mystery, that works because technically everything's a red herring that isn't being used.
Yeah.
You're just narrowing it down.
Actually, in a parlor mystery, the goal is you're supposed to play a game of process of elimination.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So you actually need those red herrings because they often let you cross somebody off a list. Whereas like in a Gumshoe game, what you're supposed to do is in a typical Gumshoe game, you find a clue that leads to a clue that leads to a thing that eventually informs you what action
you should take.
And for that, sure, red herrings are fine. They're like little little diversions or whatever from that. But you actually don't need them because you still can just go clue to clue to clue and get to the action part. Because that's really the crux of the Gumshoe game is collect information to take an action, take action to discover new things to lead to the next mystery.
When it comes to Gumshoe games, I'm now pondering some thoughts in my head about this idea between the parlor mystery, which is basically process of elimination, versus the Gumshoe game, which is get clue, go to next thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting when there is a moment where it's all about process of elimination within the trail. It's branching design or almost like linear design with bubbles. Like, cool, we found this clue. It moves us to this action. We find this next set of clues, but we have to eliminate whichever ones are there to get to the right clue to move on to the next action to go to the next clue.
Sure, like in the Conspiramid and the Vampiramid, you might not know if the target is on the same level or the next tier.
That's an interesting thought of information too.
Right, because that's a process of elimination. Like, is guy B pulling guys A's strings, or are they both having their strings pulled by C, who's a higher tier on the pyramid? Because you might be trying to make a beeline up the pyramid, and you're like, you know what? I'm not even interested in dealing with the money launder guy because he's no better than the arms dealer guy in terms of what we currently know.
Or you get to the point where like, well, one of these people, these business folk or whatever, are a vampire, but we have to eliminate which ones they are.
Two of these folk may be Renfields, and one of them is the actual vampire.
So then we're process of eliminating that, but it's still dangerous. Oh man, that's so interesting. This idea of like you can now combine these two things, like this trail of clues plus this process of elimination mystery style to get some interesting spaces.
Yeah. Which again is still in the Gumshoe framework of collect information to take action.
Which then you can apply to other games because it's not system based.
Oh, no, there's nothing. I mean, Gumshoe just has a system that helps that, but it's not like it invented that loop of play.
Now I will ask the last question that we have, which are, what are some of the red herrings that have been used well in games that you've GM or played? And boy, could I not think of any because
I don't use them.
There's a Pathfinder adventure called Hangman's Noose that does a good job. It's a process of elimination that has a few red herrings in it, but because it's basically a parlor mystery, the red herrings do end up leading you in some directions.
Well, in any parlor mystery, as soon as you eliminate somebody, it focuses it down.
Yes.
Right?
There are also some red herrings that end up pointing you to a different clue, which is what we talked about earlier. You're chasing the wrong clue, but when you get to the end of it, realizing that that's a red herring also tells you that there's another clue you should be going after and which one it is.
My problem is the majority of mystery games that I've played are either, honestly, carved from Brindlewood games because public access is like the only mystery styled campaign that I've ever run. And I run some Night's Black Agents, but I mean, it's trail of clues for me, usually. Like, it's just find a clue, take an action, find a clue, take an action. So I didn't have any red herrings. I never really wrote one with red herrings intended, right? Sometimes red herrings occur when players get the wrong idea.
Yes.
And then I tie them off after a scene. Be like, cool, let me just get this scene out of the way so that they can realize that they have to go back and do the other thing.
Exactly.
And I think the key thing is, how do you tie that off as a GM?
Sure.
To make it so that the players don't feel like, well, that was completely unsatisfying.
Well,
like we didn't get anywhere with that.
Good thing we have all those things that we talked about.
All those things we talked about. Like, I thought of something earlier where like, okay, you go around, you're following this clue. It totally dead ends. It's not leading you anywhere towards the mastermind that you're trying to track down. But there's an interesting factoid there that maybe ties into one of the characters' backstories. Now, all of a sudden, you've got something that's part of the overall campaign.
Yeah, man. Like, I've done that stuff, like with a mastermind in the background doing stuff and then, causing jobs and having other things going on. Like my Eberron campaign, like Merrick's does shit like that all the time in some of the games that I've run. Merrick's to Caneth. Yeah. Like he's always got stuff going on in the background and causing and doing jobs over here and over here that feel like red herrings, even though you're progressing the plot, right? Like,
yeah, it's not getting you towards where you wanted to go, but it's like, oh, he's got a group that's doing another thing over here that we're going to have to look into later because that could be bad.
I have to say, I've told a bit of this story before. I actually had a time when the players created their own red herrings in a mystery that did not exist, where they were supposed to be going from point A to point B. And I went to the bathroom and came back and found out they created a murder board on our playmat, connecting a bunch of unrelated crimes to each other and then tracing them back to the wrong villain.
I mean, it's time to retrofit your game at that moment. You're like, well, okay.
I guess we have a mystery now.
I know, right?
I feel like I don't want to let you guys down.
I let them track down the villain, figure out it wasn't him, and then get some clues from him with the actual thing.
Oh, there you go.
That's worthwhile.
But literally, like I came back from a long bathroom break to find them with... They'd actually dug up my bag of counters so they could put the little standees for all the villains that were connected to each other. And that night it was
And they were so proud of themselves too, I'm sure. Like, oh, look at this. See, we figured this all out. We connected this all together, right?
I was impressed and
horrified at the same time.
Oh no, I play so many of those games were played so off the cuff as it was. It was fine. But it was fun to watch my players create their own red herrings.
One last final thing before we close this out. There are definitely cases where players will think they've encountered a red herring where they just don't have enough information to know that it's actually something connected to something larger, right? Yes. So they will feel frustrated. And sometimes I will say to players, and I think I've said it to you guys, like, there is something bigger here. Like, what you're seeing is real. No, it doesn't make any sense. And like, there is more information that is needed to make to turn this into something that will make sense.
That's a good tip right there for how to handle that. I'm a big onion mystery guy. Like the mystery is like the campaign framework of like peeling back the layers till you get to the center.
You know, it's like a troll.
Cakes have layers.
An ogre. I'm sorry.
An ogre. All right. Well, with that, we were going to get out of here. Thank you for listening to Misdirected Mark. We will talk to you all next week.
Bye.
Peace out.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Misdirected Mark Plays. Now let's do some Patreon shoutouts before we get out of here. Let's start with the Royal Court. The Polish Ogre, who is our very own Polish Ogre. Ty Prunty, also known as Lord Timemonger. Lars Henrik Evjan, the Lord Out of Time. Jim, the Royal Merchant Emeritus. Chromatic Chameleon, the Queen's Spy Mistress. J.T. Evans, the Queen's Librarian. Schmitty, the Keeper of the Labyrinth. Andrew Dacey, the Warden of Whiskies. John Carney, the Court Necromancer. Craig, the Lord of One Name. Tiberius Starcrash Smith, the Baron of Britannia. Eric Bonts, the Weregator. And Kevin Lovecraft, the Royal Beard. Now, we have a bunch of other patrons that get a shout out here too. Thank you so much. John, Chris Constantine, Miko Froelich, Eric Simon, Athelus, Not That Billy Mitchell, Fiona, Kathleen Halperin, Christopher Gamelk, Michael Beck Esperum, Joseph Knoll, Carlos Hepgalema, Michael Draper, Alice Kira, Jim Fitzpatrick, Brantley Harris, Steve Radabaugh, Rory McLeod, Ninjabi, Richard Wyatt, Joseph Peralta, Brian Kurtz, my Brett, not my Brett, but somebody's Brett, Chris Steele, Jared Rasher, Eileen Barnes, and Brandon Barnes. Thank you so much for being our patrons. If you'd like more content like this, you can check it out at misdirectedmark.com. If you are interested in supporting the show and other shows on Misdirected Mark Productions, you can go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/MMP. You can get a whole bunch of stuff there, including extra bonus podcast episodes, material concerning this game, The Children of the Shroud. That includes character sheets, our game rules, some of our setting stuff, and Phil's thoughts from behind the screen. If that's not your thing, then you can just tell a friend about us. We'd greatly appreciate it. If you're looking for other podcasts to listen to, there are a variety of shows on our network. You can check out Panda's Talking Games with Phil and Senda, where they talk about all kinds of game stuff. The Gnomecast, where a bunch of gnomes get together to talk about gaming topics to avoid being thrown in the stew. And Thaco with Advantage, where Ange and Jared talk all about D&D. They're going to talk about it anyway, so why not record it? If that's still not enough content for you, we have a number of other podcasts that we recommend and are friends with. The Tabletop Bellhop, your board game concierge. The Knights of the Night, an excellent AP podcast. Mastering Dungeons, where they talk all about D&D if you want some more D&D stuff. And How to RPG with Sean P. Kelly. You can catch that on YouTube. He's live on Saturday mornings. I'm often in the chat room there. Well, this has been a Misdirected Mark production, the media arm of Encoded Designs. Mic drop. We out.